All right, you guys, I will keep this one really short and really simple. This 5 minute theory is all about attention, focus, time, brain power, and then how you divvy those things up and how you spend them in different ways. I think it's great that we always say pay attention because it makes it a lot easier for you guys to realize that you are contributing something. You're paying something and it's not from an infinite pool. It's something that you only have a limited amount of. So usually when I'm talking to people, it's a big surprise to them to find out that I don't watch TV. I don't really watch movies or media or music or anything like that. The first thing they say always is why? And I think it's pretty simple. I say, well, there's nothing on there for me. As a young, educated, heterosexual black male here in America, nothing specifically is put on the television for me or marketed to me. And I can tell just by my own behaviors and the behaviors of those other, I hate to say high value males, but college educated guys that have a career, cars, they're taking businesses, they're taking care of their families. So we'll just call them high value males for popularity's sake because I know that's a really important term. The first thing I notice is being a high value male and looking at others around me, it has nothing to do with the possessions you have. It has a lot more to do with the behaviors that you go through and the way you wake up and see the world and the way you wake up and see your ability to do things within the world. So I'll get back to not watching TV. The first thing they say is, why don't you watch TV? And I say there's nothing on there for me. The second thing they say is, well, what do you talk to people about? And I say, well, I talk about real life things. I talk about intangibles. I talk about things that come from within me, not necessarily things that come from within others that we just discuss just because it's on our mind. So the other high value males that I know, they overwhelmingly make their decisions and their purchases based off of needs and not wants. So a lot of the guys I know, they buy things that they need. And then if there's something that they want based on a hobby or something like that, they've already made the conscious decision to go get that. And they don't necessarily need advertising or marketing to make them want that. You know, maybe the respect and the adoration of other high value males makes them want something a little bit more. But I think it's very rare that you're going to see a TV show and a high value man is going to say, I need that thing that was in that TV show. Or you see a commercial and they say, well, I didn't want that before, but now I feel like I want that. So if you think about the hobbies that a lot of American black males have, you think about, I hate to say it, Jordans and sneakers. You think about luxury cars, rims, designer belts, jewelry, improving their homes and their communities, projects like that, nice watches, suits, experiences like trips and excursions, and hobbies, stuff like that. You don't necessarily see a lot of advertisements for that stuff on TV. Like me, I love 3D printing. I have never, ever in life seen something on TV, an advertisement about 3D printing or how you can get into 3D printing. I like flying drones. I rarely, if ever, have seen a commercial about buying drones on TV. A lot of my friends, they really like very nice watches and things like that. When was the last time you saw a Rolex commercial on TV? When was the last time you saw a Bugatti commercial on TV? You don't. Okay, so I believe that the advertisers and the marketers have it figured out. They know where they need to spend the bulk of their money to try to drive people to purchase their product. So what do I mean by this? I mean, the heterosexual American educated black male, that's a dwindling population. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, especially if you consider some of the statistics and things that we hear about. One in every three black males will have some type of interaction or experience with the criminal justice system. You hear about American black women being the fastest rising entrepreneur group. You hear about them being the most educated group in America when it comes to per capita or when it comes to number of college degrees per person, different things like that. So if you think about it from a marketing or from an advertising perspective, I'm not going to spend a lot of marketing money on this segment of population or this segment of the population that is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I'm going to spend a lot of my money advertising to the population that's growing and also the population that is going to have a lot more economic power. If you think about it, black males statistically do not attend college at the rate of black women. Black males statistically do not make what black women are making in a lot of cases, or they might not have the college degree or the degrees necessary to get into some of the higher entry level roles that black women can get into. So think about it. You got our dwindling population, you got our lack of economic strength, and then you also just have our plain, the third piece of it is just how disinterested we are in the American dream. And I think really, that's partly my opinion, but I think that has come over time from just being beat down anytime we try to, quote unquote, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, or anytime we try to go about something the legal or the legit way. You find a lot of other people throwing obstacles in the way to prevent that from happening. I think over time that discourages the American black males from trying. So you end up with a segment of the population that has kind of turned away from the American dream. On the other side, you have the growing population of American black women that newfound degrees and professions and entrepreneurship. So you're starting to see a lot more economic power and a lot more economic strength on that side of on that sex as opposed to with males. So what does this make me think of? This makes me think of, what do we pay attention to? And I've actually got some little equations that I wrote here for you guys. I even wrote them backwards so they appear forwards. The first one there is A equals F times T. That means attention equals focus multiplied by time. The second one, the F there, that equals focus equals brain power times a distance. And I'll start with that one first, but I'll tell you the reason I wrote these equations. I was having a chat with a young lady, one of my friends, and in telling her that I didn't watch TV because there was nothing on there for me, she kind of took it in an emotional way, or she kind of took it in an offensive way and said, well, what do you mean? The stuff on there is marketed to me? And I tried to explain to her the economics behind it and why things would be marketed to black women with the economic power and the economic strength that they have. But she still didn't necessarily see it. And she also felt when I said that, hey, black men, we don't buy a lot outside of our needs and the few wants that we have that are hobbies that we've already decided we want to invest in. I said, we don't buy a lot. She said, well, I don't buy a lot. I don't just see something on TV and buy it. And I said, okay, let me break this down a little bit more in detail for you so you can understand what you're actually spending with them. So I'll get to the attention, but like I said, first I want to talk about focus equals brain power multiplied by distance. Okay, so to help explain this, I'll give you guys another analogy, or I'll give you guys another example. Okay, let's say that we have a bolt right here that we need to loosen, and we take a wrench and we put it on the bolt. Right now, it will be a lot easier for me to loosen this bolt if I pressed here on the wrench as opposed to if I press here. That's a physical principle called torque. Torque equals a force. Torque equals a force applied at a distance. So torque equals the force times the radius. Meaning, I can push very little here and I'll move this. But if I want to move it the same amount, I have to press very hard here. Okay, so more force if I'm more force is needed if I'm really close, less force is needed if I'm really far away. So the way focus works is actually the inverse of that. So when you guys think of focus, I want you to think of how much brain power you have to dedicate to different ideas. So if you're sitting down watching TV, you have music playing in the background, you also have a meal on the stove, and then you're also scrolling through your phone, we might not be able to represent your brain power in just a number, but we can represent it in a percentage. I would say something like 20% of my energy is going to watching TV, 20% of it is going to scrolling through my phone, 20% of it is going through paying attention to the meal I'm cooking, 20% of it is going to contributing to listening to the music that I'm bumping, And then the other 20% of it may be going to my controlling my bodily functions, making sure that I'm breathing, making sure that I am blinking, doing all the different things that your body does unconsciously. So all those 520s, they come up to 100% brain power. Here's the thing about brain power. Everyone has a different level of brain power. You know, this person over here may have a ton of brain power just because they're really intelligent. They've figured out how to unlock their mind and use their brain power in ways that we haven't, and they can focus on a million different things. This person over here may have a lot less brain power and they can only use it to focus on a few things. So while one person may be able to watch TV and that's all they can do and pay attention to, another person may be able to watch TV, play on their phone, finish their homework, and still listen to music, all because we have different levels of brain power. So brain power multiplied by the distance equals your focus. So the reason I included distance is just like with torque. It takes a lot of force right here to move this pen, but it takes very little force right here to move the pen even more. So now think about that as far as focus. If all you had to do was watch a television program and tell me all about the television program, and I put the TV 2 feet right in front of your face, it would be very easy. It wouldn't take much brain power to absorb everything that you got going on or to focus on that television. Now, if I take that television and I put it 20 feet away, you now have a lot of other things in your scope or in your vision that could kind of make it difficult to focus on that television that's 20 feet away. So that is why we include the distance. The focus equals your brain power multiplied by the distance that you're using it across. Okay, so that is how focus works. The next portion of the equation is attention equals focus multiplied by time. What does that mean? That means, well, the only thing we're adding new to the equation is we're adding time. So now when you focus across a certain period of time, you have paid attention, and attention is basically a number. I don't have a number. I don't have any other formulas that I've made up, just formulas to represent these. You've paid a certain amount of attention. So if you go back and you look at this, BP is a constant number. That number doesn't change. You only have a certain amount of brain power. The same with attention. You only have a certain amount of attention. The time can change, and if you increase time, you paid more attention to it. If you watched a 3-hour movie versus a 1-hour movie, you used more, you used a lot of the same amount of focus, but you paid more attention because it was more time. If you only spend 5 minutes on your social media, that's a very small amount of time, so you pay very little bit of attention to it, okay? So when you think of those things, think of attention, time, and money, okay? Money is a tangible thing. It's what we take to buy certain things that we want, right? And everybody says money is one of the most important things in the world. And then as you press them a little bit more, you find out that time is money. And then as you grow a little bit older and become a little bit more wise, you find that time is more valuable than money because time can't be recreated. Time cannot be given back. You can't get any more time. So it's a more valuable resource. You only have a limited amount of time. Money, you might have a limited amount, but you can go out and make more money, or you can find ways to get more money. There still has not been in the history of the world somebody that figured out a way to get more time. So here is why attention, focus, and time are valuable or important. Attention costs you focus and it costs you time. That is focus that you could be putting on something else. That's time you could be spending elsewhere. So attention to me actually trumps money, and it definitely trumps time. What are you doing with the time? That's where your attention comes into play. So me, I like things to be completely silent. I don't like any distractions, because to me a distraction is something that has captured your attention without you wanting it to. You were paying attention, you were focused for a time frame on one thing, and then something over here distracted you, And now that I've looked away over there, I focused over there for a certain time period, it's distracted me. So that's mainly why I don't watch television. I don't watch movies. I don't listen to the radio. I definitely don't get on YouTube and allow it to start suggesting videos for me, because those are all distractions. Those are things that I did not actively go out and seek for myself. So the overall message here is, do not give your attention away for free. Attention is more valuable than time, and time is more valuable than money. So if you want to be successful, you need to take note of what you pay attention to. You need to make sure that your attention is protected from different distractions that will grab your attention. You need to understand that you have a limited amount of brain power, and brain power is very easy to focus on things that are close, but it's a lot more difficult to focus on things that are far away. And strangely enough, this also represents intangible things, things that are in your mind. It's probably a lot easier to focus your brain power on something you've got going on tomorrow than it is to focus your brain power on something that you're thinking about, a goal that you have 2 or 3 years off in the future. So that's how focus, brain power, and the distance between what you're focusing on works. But then keep in mind that focus goes into a more important equation where you spend your attention, a very limited amount, equals your focus multiplied by the time. So going back to the story I had with my friend that said, well, I don't buy things. I said, you pay attention, don't you?